Coming up, the Bruins win again, and the Wild have found their rhythm. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Locked On Game to Game NHL, local experts on all the biggest stories on the ice. I'm your host, Daniella Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On Game to Game your first listen every weekday. Subscribe to Locked On NHL and your team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We've got all our Locked On NHL hosts here to tell you everything you need to know about last night in hockey. The Boston Bruins scored 3 goals in the third period to pull away from the Detroit Red Wings on Thursday night. Both Locked On Bruins and Red Wings go over the 5-1 Boston victory.
It was a bit of a crazy night for the Boston Bruins, who welcomed Brad Marchand back to the lineup much earlier than expected. The star winger scored 2 goals in his first game back from double hip surgery in the offseason. He wasn't supposed to play until Thanksgiving. The Bruins beat up on the Detroit Red Wings, improving their record to 7-1-0. Unfortunately, David Krejci took a stick to the head and did not return to this game. His availability for tomorrow night's contest in Columbus very much in doubt. While all this was going on, General Manager Don Sweeney made a trade, sending Jack Studnicka to Vancouver in exchange for a goalie and a defensive prospect. Catch all the latest on the Boston Bruins on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
Well, Scotty, the Red Wings drop another dud. They lost this game to the Boston Bruins by a final score of 5-1. The Bruins, with Marchand back, come out flying. I thought the Red Wings hung tough with them through the first 2 periods, but in the third period, the wheels really fell off, and I hate to say it, but this felt a lot like a loss from last year.
Yeah, this one's really tough because you're right. For the first 2 periods, they did hang really tough, and it looks like it was a much more competitive game against a really good team. But at the same time, like, you want to take that next step, and you want to play good teams tough consistently. You don't want it to be like oh my goodness, we're playing the Boston Bruins tough, and then they kind of broke the seal at the end there and just poured it on. And yeah, really another frustrating one, and that's back-to-back blowouts, which is not great.
Tough to see. And we'll talk about the whole episode on Friday's episode of Locked On Red Wings.
The Philadelphia Flyers scored 4 goals early at home to put the game out of reach for the visiting Panthers. Both our Locked On Panthers and Flyers host help recap what happened in Philly.
Carter Hart is once again the story for the Philadelphia Flyers this season as he turns away 47 of 50 shots in this game against Florida. Hi, I'm Rachel Donner from the Locked On Flyers podcast with your quick reaction to the Flyers' second matchup versus the Florida Panthers of the season, a 4-3 victory. The Flyers got some contributions from guys who were supposed to step up with all the injuries, like Scott Lawton, who subbed in for JVR on the power play. He scored from net front, but also depth players like Nick Seeler, who had a rocket of a shot that was redirected by Zach McEwen off a faceoff. Of course, Carter Hart continued to be a lifesaver in net with those 47 saves, which was a career high for him. He may want 1 or 2 of those goals back, to be fair, but he has continued to be a huge factor in keeping the Flyers in games this season so far. He's 5-0 on the season, and with Florida dominating a huge part of the first and third periods, he had to come up huge, especially when the Panthers had the extra attacker at the end of the game. Felt like there were 20 Panthers shots in just a minute or so of gameplay. For more on this game and the Flyers all season long, tune in to the Locked On Flyers podcast, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube.
The Florida Panthers find a way to dominate the possession game, but still find themselves on the losing end tonight in Philadelphia. What is up, guys? It's Armando Velez from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and the Florida Panthers get a 0 out of a possible 4 points on this 2-game road trip, losing by a final score of 4-3 in Philadelphia. There was line juggles for the Florida Panthers where Matthew Tkachuk was inserted on the top line with Alexander Barkov and Carter Verhaeghe. Sam Reinhart is now on the line with Sam Bennett and Rudolph Balcers. There was more offense generated. Sasha Barkov was getting more shots on goal, but Carter Hart was just incredible. 47 of 50 tonight. And the Philadelphia Flyers for their season, it's been a big difference when Carter Hart is between the pipes versus when he's not. But the Panthers did, however, good news for them is they broke their power play drought. After going 0 for 25, their last 25, they got one through. So maybe hopefully a little confidence for this Panthers team, but a little bit of mistakes for the Panthers in their own end, despite Philly only having 22 shots on goal. The Flyers were tracking pucks well, and they were getting traffic right in front of the net, making Sergei Bobrovsky's life a little hard, despite very little amount of shots for the Flyers. So to listen to my recap of this 4-3 loss against the Philadelphia Flyers, make sure to join me and Nick Fairbanks for a Fairbanks Friday edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We'll be breaking down this 4-3 loss against the Philadelphia Flyers. Your team, every day.
Coming up, the Stars shut out the Capitals and the Sharks win in overtime. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL. BetOnline is your number one source for BetOnline is your number one source for betting football and the start of a new basketball season. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check on all of your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and even golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game NHL. I'm your host, Daniella Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Nashville Predators scored 5 unanswered goals on Thursday in a win at home against the Blues. Locked On Predators takes you through the box score from Nashville.
The Nashville Predators snapped their 5-game losing streak and earned the franchise its 900th win with tonight's 6-2 win over the St. Louis Blues. Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Kimmel from Locked On Predators. What matters most is that the Predators got the win, but how they got the win may be a great launching point for the Predators moving forward. This was a complete performance across the board. UC Saros played a solid game in net, earning a .943 save percentage and stopping all but 2 of the 35 shots he faced. The big names who have had slow starts for the Predators finally got activated in this game. Roman Josi had a goal and 2 assists. Matt Duchene and Philip Forsberg each earned themselves 3 assists. And the bottom 6 showed up big. Tanner Jeannot got the scoring started, but Michael McCarron added a greasy rebound goal, and former Blues Zach Sanford made his team pay as he scored on a highlight reel wraparound goal. The Predators looked great defensively, as good as we've seen them play so far this season, with the tweaked defensive pairings tonight as well. Did I mention the Predators also scored a power play goal against the Blues penalty kill that was 100% successful before tonight? This was a 60-minute, well-executed game by the Nashville Predators, and it's one that they have not played yet this season. The fact that such a great performance is what ended the 5-game losing streak and gave the franchise its 900th win, well, that's just extra sauce on the barbecue for the Predators.
The Dallas defense stepped up big last night against the Capitals. Jake Ottinger stopped all 27 shots he saw, and Locked On Capitals and Stars have more on how it played out in Dallas.
The Washington Capitals fall to the Central Division leading Dallas Stars by a score of 2-0. Hi, this is Dan Holme of Locked On Capitals. Well, there was no third period heroics in this game. A late shorthanded goal is what sealed it for the Stars. And the Caps didn't generate enough opportunities ultimately. Both teams had 27 shots on goal, but the Capitals did not have enough quality shots on goal. And then there was the defensive breakdowns that led to those opportunities. Kemper stood on his head and made 25 saves, so we can't say that the net minding was the issue. And Alex Ovechkin with 7 shots on net. The Capitals hope to get back into the win column Saturday as they take on the Nashville Predators. Keep it locked on to Locked On Capitals, and I will keep you updated on all the news with your Washington Capitals. Locked On Capitals, your team every day.
The Dallas Stars returned home on Thursday night, and they got back on track with a 2-0 win over the Washington Capitals. Hey, everybody. Dane Lewis here with the Locked On Stars podcast. Just got back from the American Airlines Center where the energy was absolutely electric, propelled by a Jake Ottinger shutout, his first of this season. He saves 27 of 27 shots and shuts down this Capitals offense that coming into this game was top 5 in goals for. Alexander Ovechkin had 7 shots on goal, but it's not enough. Jake Ottinger played his best game of the season so far, and I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that this is the best goalie in the National Hockey League right now. Jake Ottinger has played lights out to start this season. He's picked up right where he left off from Game 7 against the Calgary Flames back in the spring, and he is a huge reason why the Stars are off to such a fantastic start this season. He has played incredible, and I don't really see him slowing down anytime soon. Jason Robertson and Yoel Kiviranta both record goals. Fantastic to see Kiviranta stepping up in a huge way this season. His third on the year, an unassisted goal on the penalty kill. Just a fantastic play all around. But it's nice to see the Stars back in the win column. They start this 3-game homestand off with a win, and their next test, another team from the Metro Division, the New York Rangers, come to town on Saturday afternoon. Should be a great matchup there, but we're going to talk about Thursday night's win over the Capitals and preview Saturday's game against the New York Rangers on Friday's episode of Locked On Stars. Be sure to check us out on YouTube as well as your favorite podcasting platform. Remember that we are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. Thank you guys for supporting the show, and we'll see you on Friday's episode.
On the West Coast, the Jets overcame a 3-1 deficit on the road to the Kings and beat LA by a pair of goals. Our Locked On Kings and Jets hosts give you the details after Winnipeg took the victory.
The LA Kings start strong but fade in the end. Hi, I'm Eddie Garcia with the Locked On LA Kings podcast. LA Kings had a strong start to their home game against the Winnipeg Jets, but then let a lead slip away, tied it up in the third, and then let it slip away again and ended up losing by a score of 6-4. The Kings allowed a goal on the first shot of the game against them for the 4th time this season. They then responded with a dominant first period, outshooting the Jets 17-6 and leading 3-1 on goals from Arthur Kaliyev, Blake Lizotte, and Gabe Vilardi. However, the Jets would score the next 3 goals to take a 4-3 lead after 2 periods, despite being outshot in the game at that point, 29-14. In the third, LA's Trevor Moore would tie it up at 4-4, but the Jets would grab the lead with a late goal and then finish it off with an empty netter for the 6-4 victory. Jonathan Quick in net for the Kings allowed 5 goals on just 18 shots. The Kings have now allowed an NHL worst 39 goals in 9 games, even with my limited math skills. That's over 4 per game, and that's not good. The Kings fall under 500 and are now 4-5 on the season. We'll have a full recap of the loss against Winnipeg on Friday's show and look ahead to the Leafs coming to town on Saturday. For more, check out Locked On LA Kings wherever you get your podcasts, your team every day.
Folks, Winnipeg just walked out of LA having stolen 2 points on the road against the Kings. An LA team that was fast, aggressive, and generally outplayed the Jets. Well, thankfully, the one place they didn't outplay Winnipeg was in net. And Connor Hellebuck put on one of the best performances of the season so far to stonewall LA and give Winnipeg a fighting chance to win 6-4. Despite the scoreline, the Jets actually had less than 20 shots on goal. First time they have ever scored this many on so few shots. We have a lot of folks to thank from the bottom 6, including guys like David Gustafsson and Axel Jonsson-Fjallby scoring his first Jets goal ever. So we'll have a deeper dive on this on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets. This has been Harrison Lee from Locked On Winnipeg Jets signing off for the evening. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting platform of choice. See you soon, and go Jets go.
The Sharks needed overtime, but Erik Karlsson scored for San Jose in the extra period to beat the Maple Leafs. Locked On Sharks recaps the win that capped off the night in hockey.
Erik Karlsson wins it in overtime. I'm JD Young of Locked On Sharks, and the Sharks win 4-3 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Erik Karlsson capping off a superb night with an overtime breakaway goal. He had 3 points tonight, the goal in overtime, and 2 other assists. Logan Couture scores 2 goals, and Timo Meier finally gets off the schneid as the Sharks make it very interesting in the third, as they tend to do, but we're able to come back, win a big game against the Maple Leafs, and start to get the offense generating a little bit. So some positive signs from the Stars as they start to produce, and maybe the Sharks are putting things together here. So we'll have a full breakdown of tonight's game. I'll apologize to Logan Couture, so make sure you guys follow along wherever you get podcasts at Locked On Sharks or on YouTube as well.
That's all for today on Locked On Game to Game NHL. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On NHL and your team's Locked On podcast for more hockey every day of the week. I'm Daniella Bruce, and this has been Locked On Game to Game.